Test. Test.
Did you? You know what?
Can you hear me? Good evening, everyone. We're going to call this meeting to order. The public hearing on ordinance, June 9th at 5 o'clock. I'm Councilman Nicholas Narducci. We have Councilor Rachel Miller and Councilwoman Harris with us. With that being said, Madam Chair, we do not need a roll call. That's correct, right?
That is correct, Mr. Chair.
Okay. What I'm going to ask at this time is that the clerk read into the record the ordinance we're here having the public hearing on, please.
This is an ordinance and amendment of Chapter 14, Licenses of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Providence to add Article 17, Neighborhood Events. Section 1. The Code of Ordinances of the City of Providence, Chapter 14, Licenses is hereby amended to add Article 17, Neighborhood Events as follows. Article 17, Neighborhood Events. Section 14-339, Policy. The COVID-19 pandemic has had a devastating impact on the hospitality industry in the City of Providence. As the city begins to climb out from the pandemic, it is imperative that the city work with local neighborhood businesses and organizations to provide avenues for rebuilding our local economy. The purpose of this article is to assist the local events series by standardizing the delivery of city services and committing all city departments to a spirit of cooperation with local events that are integral to the social and economic fabric of our city's neighborhoods. Section 14-340, Eligibility of Neighborhood Events. Any nonprofit community or neighborhood organization located within the City of Providence may petition the Board of Licenses for a determination of eligibility of their events to receive city services as outlined in Section 14-341. The petition shall include an approval letter issued by the Department of Arts, Culture, and Tourism, as well as an anticipated list of all city services that may be necessitated by such events. Upon receipt of a complete petition, the Board of Licenses may make the finding that the organization is eligible to receive the services as outlined in Section 14-341, provided that such finding is made during a public meeting in compliance with the state's open meeting laws. Section 14-341, City Services for Neighborhood Events. All neighborhood events approved pursuant to this article shall receive the following city services. 1, police and fire details, as necessitated by the approved petition, shall be provided with no charge to the applicant outside of the administrative costs of providing such services. 2, the assistance of the Department of Public Works in street closures for the event dates and times as outlined in the approved petition. 3, the full cooperation of all city departments as necessitated by the approved petition at no charge to the applicant outside of the administrative cost of providing such services. The reduced cost outlined in this section shall only apply to the services outlined in the petition approved by the Board of Licenses. All changes made subsequent to board approval shall require additional authorization or will be charged at full cost. Section 2, this ordinance shall take effect immediately upon passage and sunset on December 31st, 2026.
Well done, Madam Clerk. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask the city sergeant to bring the sign-in sheets up to the city clerk, please? And what I'm going to ask is that people that are going to speak on the matter to make sure it has to do with the particular matter in front of us, and you will be issued 3 minutes to speak. And what I will ask again is that if it's going to be, if you want to speak on the same thing, everybody, just have one general speaker to save us some time, because we do have a meeting right after this also.
Mr. Chair, I
Yes,
do
Madam
have
Clerk.
a letter of testimony to be submitted into the record.
Yeah, I did read that already.
Yes.
So, do we need a motion to accept this as Exhibit A?
Yes, please.
Can I get
I'd
the
like to make a motion to accept this as Exhibit A.
motion made by Leader Harris, seconded by Councilor Miller. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. I love banging that gavel. At this time, we're going to ask Sean Bouchard to come up and explain the ordinance a little further for everybody. Sean is our Director of Policy for the City Council. Sean, would you mind coming up to the podium, please? And I don't know, I know you don't have to, but just state your name and your position for the record. Thank you, Sean.
Is this thing active? Can you hear me? Excellent. Sean Bouchard, Director of Policy for the City Council. So considering the clerk read the entirety of the document into the record, I'll try and keep it brief. The purpose and intent of this ordinance is to standardize the procedure by which the city waives certain costs for local neighborhood events. It has been done in the past. We're trying to create a more streamlined and publicly available process by which this occurs, and to do so for, again, local neighborhood nonprofit driven events for the purpose of trying to stimulate a little bit more activity in the city. Coming out of COVID, we're trying to get a little bit more activity going. And I know that this is something that has been kind of worked on by Arts, Culture, and Tourism. And so in collaboration with both Arts, Culture, and Tourism, the Board of Licenses, as well as the City Council, we tried to work to create a process by which individuals who are looking to do a neighborhood event can come to the city and get certain costs waived. The posture of this ordinance is that the city is not going to do anything out of pocket, but we are not going to charge overhead for revenue on the backs of local neighborhood events. And so, as you'll notice, we're creating a public process by which individuals can come in and actually petition for a reduced fee. Right now, the city charges a certain overhead for police details, fire details, street closures, things of that sort. And so what we're expecting is that if you're going to do a neighborhood event, you petition in advance, work with the city, outline exactly what those services are. Can't be making changes last minute, which has happened. We're trying to make this as easy and accessible as possible. But for community members who may be impacted by a neighborhood event, it's also creating a public forum for the discussion around that event. Right now, Arts, Culture, and Tourism might make a decision, may or may not be public, we don't know. Board of Licenses conducts an actual public agenda. So what we're trying to do is say, you can get the city's cooperation, we're happy to work with you, but we also want to make sure that these decisions are being made in an open forum in compliance with open meetings, and done so that way if there are any considerations that need to be made, either additional services, trying to be good neighbors here, trying to work with the local community, all of those considerations can be made at that time, and then based on that decision, the city will then say, okay, we will provide our services, you need to reimburse us for the city's hard costs, but we're not going to make any money off your event itself. And I'll just note that, again, there is a sunset provision. The ordinance will sunset at the end of the ARPA budget in 2026. And so at that point, the city can revisit it based on the revenue needs of the city. If this is a successful program, all the better. If it's not, this program will go away. So I'm happy to answer any other questions the board might have, but I'll probably wait until we're in the or outside of the public hearing to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. And I'm going to apologize now if I make any mistakes on pronouncing the last names. So we're going to start off with John Hedney. And John, you have 3 minutes.
Do I need to turn this on? Hello? Oh, so it is. Frank Sinatra? No, I'm just kidding. I am the author of this statement of opposition that was just introduced as evidence. So everything is in here for the most part. I will say that my opposition is such that there's no way I can offer my testimony in the span of 3 minutes. There's just too many things wrong with this ordinance. There's just too many things wrong with this ordinance for me to actually state in 3 minutes. So I'll just say that the main reason why I object to this is because this
Can I interrupt you quickly? I'll give you the time. Can you just state your name and address for the record? I'm sorry.
But everybody knew me. John Heaney, 24 Dale Street. So I live on Federal Hill, corner of Spruce and Dale.
And we'll start you 3 minutes from now.
Yeah, so I would say that I would have to say my main objection, I guess, would be that this ordinance does not actually define a new process. This process that's outlined in this ordinance already exists. There's the special event permit, section 2336, in conjunction with the special license ordinance, which is section 14197, which says no entertainment license shall be approved for special events as described in section 2336 of the Code of Ordinances unless the applicant has followed the city's guidelines for special events, etc. So it's structured exactly the same way as this new ordinance. So to me, this is just going to create all kinds of confusion. Which ordinance are people going to be subscribing to here? Like, which process is defined by which ordinances? If there was an issue with the allocation of cost, which is not what I read from this new ordinance, it seems to me that you would amend the existing ordinances, or at least you would have to refer to them. Otherwise, it's just going to be completely confusing. The other thing I would say is that The 2336 special event permit was specifically modified in 2015 from its 2012 version, specifically, and I've listened to the testimony that is recorded and is available online, because the ACT was mismanaging this process. They're the ones that are responsible for vetting these events. And they were allowing events that were causing all kinds of cost overruns for the city services. And it was actually Councilman Michael Correa who introduced those changes on behalf of city services. So to me, what needs to happen is the existing permit ordinance and the existing special event license, to some extent, need to be enhanced in some way to make it more clear, not what services need to be provided, but in which cases the special events are disallowed. So since what I found out over the course of the winter is that the ACT never actually adopted this 2015 version of the ordinances. They stayed with the 2012 version of the ordinance, and the 2012 version of the ordinance gave them discretion as to whether or not businesses could get these kinds of special event permits. According to the 2012 version, it was up to them to decide. In the 2015 version, it was explicitly, that discretion was explicitly removed because the ACT was mismanaging the process. So in this case, you have the ordinance.
You got 1 minute, John.
I'm sorry?
1 minute. You got 1 minute left.
Defines the eligibility or the applicants based on the statement, any nonprofit community or neighborhood organization. Well, what happens is businesses simply go through a nonprofit merchants association, and that just becomes the face of a business when they apply for the permit with the ACT. So these are not, not for-profit events. They just have a corporate face put on them where the businesses pay a fee to a merchants association and they skirt the law. But the actual permit ordinance says a special event permit shall be denied if the activity is designed to be held for commercial profit, not the nonprofit status of the applicant. So this new ordinance opens up a huge loophole. There are no definitions associated with this ordinance, so there's no definition of what an actual neighborhood, whatever it says. Applicants. Any nonprofit community or neighborhood organization. There's no definition for what that is. So to me, that's just a huge loophole. And if that means that merchant associations are available to apply for this, that to me is a big problem. Because this is happening all across the city. Bars, lounges, they're just closing the street outdoors and moving their live entertainment out in the street, playing until 2 in the morning. And that's just untenable.
Okay. Thank you, John. Next is Dennis. I'm not even trying that last name. I'll have you say it when you come up. Oh,
Dennis Holinsky,
very good. Can you state your
80
name and your
Armstrong
address
Ave.
for the record, please?
80 Armstrong Avenue, Dennis Holinsky.
Thank you.
I'm interested here, and I'm here mainly because I'm a sufferer of public events in India Point Park and across the river in Bullocks Point. The concerts that have been allowed to occur in India Point Park have caused a noise concern within the neighborhood, and that there's nothing in this ordinance that I can read that has any kind of design approval or impact on the neighborhood in terms of sound. As I have been complaining about sound, I've learned that our police department does not own a decibel meter, nor do they know what a decibel is, or what the regulations are. Do you know what a decibel is? A decibel is a measurement of sound that was invented by the Bell telephone system. And it's just a measurement of sound. How much sound can you, how much sound pressure is there? It's very physically able to be measured. Sound, especially in concerts in the park, point their speakers directly at the neighborhood. They believe that the highway will separate them from, the neighborhood, but in fact, the sound goes right up over the highway, and the neighbors hear it for hours and hours and hours. This ordinance allows that to happen, and I don't know how much I can underscore my feeling that this is an opportunity, as this ordinance is being looked at, to somehow find some way to regulate the amount of sound that spills over from the venue into the surrounding neighborhoods. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Dennis. Next, we have Laura Dodge. And Laura, again, if you would state your name and your address for the record, please.
Yes, I'm Laura Dodge at 24 Dale Street in Providence.
Thank you. Better keep the mic. There you go.
These two fellows pretty much said everything there is to say on the wide open that's being suggested here. It's great for businesses and it's monstrosity for those of us who live in the area. These are roads that we pay for with our taxes, and they are being taken over by the restaurants so that they can make oodles of money over the course of the summer. You would think that if they're making so much money, they could put porta potties someplace so that our properties are not abused in ways you probably don't even want to think about. You would think they could also put a couple of cops down on Spruce Street and make them stay there. There must be 15 cars a night that get broken into on that street. It's crazy. There are 360 people who live on Spruce Street between Dale Street and Dean Street. There are another 1,500 who live on between Dale Street and Dean Street. That's 2,000 people. We live in this area. We have to listen to the nonsense. We see the crime. We clean up in the mess in the morning. We see the glitter all over the roads. This is no way to run a city. There was a movie company doing a shoot in our area at the corner of Atwells and Dale. They rented a 6-seat porta potty, and they paid to park it in our driveway. They gave us just a little token of something so that they could have a place where their crew could go when they needed to. Why is it that the Merchants Association doesn't have the decency to do that? At the end of the night, when the restaurants are closed and people are still wandering around with their cocktails, unspeakable things happen, and it shouldn't be this way in a city that's supposed to work a hell of a lot of problems, excuse my French. And the Board of Licensing will license anything. We have been living with sound coming from over the highway that is 33 times the legal limit. We have been to the Board of Licensing over and over and over again for 8 months trying to straighten it out. They don't understand what decibels are. There's a dynamic no one seems to understand, which is that sound climbs the walls of the valley, it reverberates, it amplifies, it reflects. It comes to our houses at a much higher volume than it starts down in the valley. You would think that taxpayers who live on Spruce Street and have submitted petition after petition after petition, have asked our city council person for help. You would think that taxpayers would get some help with these problems. Instead, we are shunned, and we pay for the roads. Nobody afterwards, and it's a nightmare. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, can I just recognize Councilman Gonzalez?
So
He's
noted.
here. Thank you. Diane Kane? Diane, again, when you come up, would you please state your name and your address for the record, and you have 3 minutes. Thank you.
My name is Diane Kane. I live at 61 Sutton. I just moved back here from the West Coast to my hometown, and I find that I moved back to a slum. There are a couple of people who you guys know who have been helping me clean up my neighborhood so that I can walk my dogs down the street without stepping on glass, dog poop, needles, watching the guys down the street deal cocaine and heroin, coming into the parking lot where my building is right next to at nighttime. I have signs in the windows saying, please keep the volume down, people live here. Because I love al fresco. I go to al fresco, I support it. I'm glad to see the Federal Hill is coming back. It's so wonderful. But they don't take care of the rest of us who live here. We live here. We go to work. I get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to be at work at 4 o'clock in the morning. And I have people playing loud music, 90 miles an hour down Sutton, because that's where the cutoff point is. So that's where the cars and everything, the motorcycles, everything. I'm no prude, I love to party, but I gotta get up and go to work in the morning. There's no speed bumps on our street. I've asked, called the mayor's office. I don't know who else to. I've had meetings at my house. Our lovely Rachel has attended. And she's offered support to clean the neighborhood, but we have to do it ourselves. So the other day, I went and scouted areas and sent pictures to somebody you all know very well, and he used his contacts to go all over the neighborhood and pick up mattresses, tires, furniture, garbage that wasn't picked up last week, garbage bins. This is historic Providence. This is historic Federal Hill, with beautiful 100-year-old homes and gorgeous buildings. And there's no money to handle the overflow, not just from al fresco, but all week long. I asked the person who organized al fresco to help us with that, and he said he did a study, and last week there were 30 cars broken into, and it had nothing to do with al fresco. And I said, okay. It had nothing to do with al fresco, but there were 30 cars broken into last week. My car was broken into. I've never had my car broken into. So it's dangerous. There's an element. We don't have any signs up. We don't have cameras up. We don't have signs up saying we're monitoring the speed at which you're coming down the street. We don't have, this is a neighborhood crime watch. We don't have any sort of, traffic cameras, I guess. I don't know what to do about the camera situation. I know that Cranston has cameras and the ACLU is fighting that. But we have to have something to deter. Trying to get rid of the graffiti in the neighborhood. We're doing it ourselves. I and a bunch of people and some people that you know are banding together, and we're going around the neighborhood and we're spray painting the graffiti and we're picking up garbage because we can't get the town to do it. So I love the summertime in Rhode Island and Providence, and I'm so happy to see that people are out and about, and I just love being out and about too. But we need to keep our town clean so that we don't feel like we're coming home to a, what happened? I don't think it was ever like this when I left. That was about 30 years ago. What happened? Like everybody just forgot that there are people who live here, pay rent and taxes, and the rents are going up, but the neighborhood is going down. We spent 2 months getting Ridge Street cleaned up because it was just a dumping area. Everybody just came and just dumped mattresses and tires, and there was like a big hole with just stuff in it. It wasn't even stuff that I could use in my apartment. That's what really pissed me off. It was junk. And it's gone, but now people are starting to just leave their stuff in front of the fence now that was put up around the property. So it never ends.
1 minute.
I don't know what to do. Tell me what to do. Tell me where to find the money. We were going to do a fundraiser, a GoFundMe fundraiser, so that we could have patrols on the streets, so that people would be deterred from breaking into people's cars. We've asked if some of the cops during al fresco could walk up below and above Atwell's to just keep an eye out when they say, oh, we don't have enough people. So what are we supposed to do? Are we supposed to do it ourselves? I don't have a gun. I don't want to use a gun. So I'm just saying these are the problems. We have a lot of noise. We have a lot of crime. We have a lot of trash. We have rats the size of squirrels running across our yards because we still don't have people who care enough about the neighborhood. They care about al fresco. They want to go up there and party. But if any one of those ladies with their high heels on goes down our streets and looks at those beautiful houses, she's going to step on needles and dog poop, and she's going to have to step over the tires, and it's an obstacle course walking between the garbage bins. Is it so bad that I want my neighborhood to be clean and be proud of my neighborhood? Because we got 3 or 4 months of good weather, and then it's going to go back to winter again, and everybody's just going to dump again. There's no street cleaning, nothing. Tell me what to do. Help me.
Thank you, Diane. Excuse me? Before we continue, I'd like to recognize Councilwoman Kat Kerwin.
So noted.
I should have known he wasn't here. Hey, Grant Degarian, please keep your comments strictly to this particular matter, please. And you have 3 minutes. State your name and your address for the record.
Afternoon, excuse me, Grant Delgarian, 20 Exeter Street. Grant Delgarian, 20 Exeter Street. I looked at the proposed ordinance, and I didn't see anything in there, excuse me, regarding recycling. And so, if you were at the Finance Committee hearing last week, you may have heard me mention about recycling. And so this seems like an appropriate piece of language to add recycling in there. Anywhere and everywhere.
That has nothing to do with this particular ordinance, Grant.
If you're allowing outdoor activity, then the city should require and provide recycle bins.
Again, that has nothing to do with this particular ordinance.
Certainly does.
No, it doesn't. Thank you. Madam Clerk, with that being said,
That would help solve part of the litter problem because
Sarge.
folks would have a place to put it.
Sarge, remove him from the chamber. Thank you. I'm not saying I don't agree, but the recycling has nothing to do with this particular ordinance. Thank you. And with that being said, Madam Clerk,
There are no other matters.
there are no other matters before this honorable body. The public hearing is now over. We do have a meeting upon the rise. Can we stay right here or no?